Thank you.
Welcome to another exciting session of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Over to you, Nitinji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Sandhya, and thank you, Vijayji, for a wonderful session. I think whatever all of you said was Bahu Samichanam. That's all I have today. So thank you. And welcome everybody to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you had a great weekend and having a great start to a new week. Always exciting to be back on Mondays, and I hope you feel the same. So let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. If you are new, you can mention it in your chat or put it in the feedback tracker. We'd love to hear more about you. So we will continue on our fascinating journey. And today we are going to talk about a concept. It's an interesting concept and can take a little bit. So you have to wear your thinking hats on. Okay, it can be very confusing. But we're going to have an engaging discussion on it. So let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. I would encourage you to put your cameras on, regardless of whichever team you are on. It'll help the team and it'll help the discussion as well when we can put faces to names. So thank you. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen to get started then.
Yeah, in the meanwhile, Meenaji has raised hand. I don't know what. Shall I just.
Ji, it's super proactive. Okay, so I think it's for the recitation that you have raised hand.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Okay, let's get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right. Good morning, good evening again, all of you. So let's get started. So the power of repetition. Okay, I guess. So I'm picked up this shloka, chapter 3, verse 27, that we're going to talk about today. So I'll recite it and then you're welcome to follow along. We'll pick up a few hands, if not all. Prakrate kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashah ahankar vimudhatma kartarahamiti manyate.
Okay, Meenaji, thank you for waiting for so long. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Meenaji.
Radhe Radhe. Normally, I don't even join every day because it's past 10 p.m. here, 10 to 11. I cannot afford it. It's very difficult for me, but I try at least to say this and leave. Thank you. Prakrute kriyamani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankar vimodhatma kartaram aham iti manye.
Thank you. Thank you, Meenaji. It's our fortune you were able to make it today. You said you're not able to make it most of the time, so glad to have you back. So I said good morning, good evening, everyone. So I was taking another session. So that is there, right? That formula of Donald Hebb that Swamiji talks about, neurons that wire together, fire together. So even in that session, it was morning and I was saying good morning, good evening, everyone. You know, the repetition that habit that has been formed. Okay, let's pick up a few more hands and then we'll get started. Like I said, you'll have to really wear your thinking caps on. It's a deep concept and may take a bit of a doing to understand it. And also, I'm looking forward to another engaging discussion on this topic. So let's pick up a few more hands on this topic. Shloka.
Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Sam.
Radhe Radhe. Prikrute kriyamanaani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Radhe Radhe.
That was like a Rajdhani Express. All right. Let's pick up a few more hands.
Radhe Radhe Sunita ji, please go ahead.
Radhe, Sunita ji.
Radhe Radhe everybody. Prakrute kriyamani gunai karmani sarvasah ahankara vimuratma kartaham iti manyate.
Very nice, Sunita ji. Thank you very much. Radhe Radhe.
Shyam ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll give preference to whoever has turned their videos on. So encourage you to please turn it on.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyam ji.
Prakrate kriyamanaani gune karmani sarvashah ahankar vimuratma kartaham iti manyate. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Shyam ji. Your team is doing good. I was looking at some of the progress there, so good job. All right, let's take the remaining hands. I can see last 5. Okay, then we'll freeze it at 5.
Somesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Somesh ji.
राधे नितिन जी, राधे राधे संध्या जी। प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढात्मा कर्ताहमिति मन्यते। राधे
Wonderful,
राधे।
Somesh ji. Radhe Radhe. All right, Lakshmi ji, you seem to be driving to office.
Lakshmi ji,
Go
Radhe
ahead,
Radhe.
please.
Yeah,
Mm.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Prakritehi kriyamanaani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimutthatma kartaham iti manyate. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Lakshmi ji. Radhe Radhe.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe, Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe.
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढात्मा कर्ताहमिति मन्यते.
Very nice, Riya ji. So I would encourage everybody to keep reciting where, at your place, of course, with your mutes on. Like I said, it's very auspicious to recite Bhagavad Gita shlokas. They're not ordinary words. They came out of Lord Krishna's mouth. Okay, and he says when you recite it with faith and devotion, he sits within you and discloses and starts revealing the meaning of these shlokas as well. That is how powerful it is. Okay, so like there is a saying in Sanskrit, right? Karat karat abhyas ke jadmati hot sujan rasari avat jatre silpar parat nishan. And when you start reciting it, the same words which may seem very complicated to begin with, it will just start seeming like a big football, right, to you. And you'll get into a flow. You can look at Shyamji, how he has progressed, within a span of short time, basically. So please keep practicing it. It is very, very auspicious. All right, we'll pick up a few more hands and then get started. We have a lot of stuff to cover today.
I'll take the ones with camera on first.
Yes.
Prabhat ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Prabhat.
Radhe Radhe. Prakriti kriyamanaani gune karmani sarvasa ahankar vimutthatma kartaham iti manyate. Radhe
Wonderful,
Radhe.
Prabhat. Very nice. Thank you. Aparna ji.
Radhe Radhe, Aparna ji. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Prakrite kriyamanaani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate.
Very nice, Aparna ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, we're down to our last 2 hands then.
Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Radhe Radhe. Prakrite kriyamanaani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudatma karta ahamiti manyate.
Very nice. Thank you, Pragiji. Pragiji, Riyaji. We're making concessions, so hopefully you can turn your videos on as well. Okay, last but not the least, Sandhya, go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Prakritehi kriyamanaani गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढात्मा कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते.
Wonderful. All right, so let's get started. Now, in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying that all activities are carried out by the three modes of material nature. Okay, we have spoken about the three modes of material nature in great depth. We're going to touch upon that briefly, and over the course of next couple of sessions, we'll go much more deeper into this concept. Okay, now if you look at the material nature, right, like God's material in nature also has infinite combinations. Three primary colors, red, blue, green, infinite combinations are possible. 7 suras, infinite suras are possible. Similarly, these three modes of nature, infinite combinations are possible, and these are the ones which actually drive us. And today we are going to talk about the prakriti, or how these gunas they manifest, and which results in the behaviors that we carry, right? And then the question comes that if prakriti and the guna drives it, where is the concept of free will, right? Where does it all lead us to? So that is what we're going to talk about. It's going to be very engaging. So let's look at what Lord Krishna is saying. And then he says, but in ignorance, the soul, deluded by false identification with the body, which is called vimudhatma. Vimudhatma means Atma, which has forgotten its identity or come under the spell of ignorance, thinks itself to be the doer. Okay, so let's get started. So we look at ourselves. By now you will be very familiar with our identity here. It's not the body, it's the spark you see. Hopefully you are able to make it out even though the screen is white. That is who we are. Now there are two categories of actions that we perform. What are those categories? Let's look at it. The first one are the actions, and the next ones are the natural biological functions. Okay, what are those functions? We have heartbeat. We all have heartbeat, right? Yeah, it's good to have heartbeat. Digestion, blood circulation. You know, these are some of the examples, not all inclusive, but these are called natural biological functions. Then we have actions that we do consciously. Speaking, we're able to speak. Hearing, we hear. And sleeping, those kind of activities that we choose, where we do have a say, right? You have a choice what to hear, what not to hear, whether to hear or not to hear, whether to truly intently listen or to ignore. Sleeping also, I mean, of course you can, that is something you do consciously. Does anybody know when they fall asleep? What time do they fall asleep every day? You won't know that, because if you know, you're not asleep. Okay, so that sandhi avastha is very strong. Even if your house is on fire and you are in that avastha, you'll sleep. That is how powerful sleep is, and it is one of the greatest blisses of the material world, with the irony that we are not aware of that bliss. Okay, so when you get into sushupti stage, that's when it is said that God gives us an alingan. Atma is able to meet Paramatma, and then when you wake up in the morning, you said, aha, something good happened. Why do you feel that? Because you get a hug from God in that state when your mind is completely quiet. You are not even in swapna avastha at that point. When you are in swapna avastha, your mind is working, right? So when it is completely quiet, that's when you feel that bliss. Then God has that union with the soul, Atma Paramatma, and that's where next morning you feel, wow, what a wonderful sleep we had. So anyways, there are two set of activities, speaking, hearing, that we choose. The other is heartbeat, digestion, and blood circulation. So what Lord Krishna is saying is these two categories, right? If we revisit these two categories that we are talking about, that we think we perform, right? We can see the natural phenomena of the world are not directed by us. So if you look at the natural biological functions, we do not do consciously execute, but they are actually, they are occurring naturally. They're just happening. You're not doing it. It's just happening, right? Heart is beating, everything is happening in a perfect order. So this natural phenomena, it is not directed by us, but it is performed by Prakriti, or the mother nature. Okay, that is where the concept of Prakriti comes in. So you remember that hierarchy we spoke about, the Purusha glances at Prakriti, through Prakriti comes Ahamkar, through Ahamkar comes Panchtan Matras, through Panchtan Matras come Panch Mahabhut and all that mapping. So this is the Prakriti we are talking about. God simply glances at Prakriti and it starts unfolding. And these actions are actually carried out by Prakriti itself. not by us consciously. Okay, that is what we have to, this is a key message in the shloka that we are going to delve into. Okay, so let's go further on this. Let's look at our body itself. Okay, this body, I think if I make it move, it will look nice. Okay, now it's looking nice, I believe. Okay, so this is our body. You know what? When we are sleeping, what happens in our body? We have no clue about it, right? So when we are sleeping, actually, there is a work that happens in our body. We spoke about heart, all the work that is happening, which is, if you were to quantify it, it is 40 factories worth of work that our body is doing when we are sleeping. 40 factories is a lot, right? Why not 100? I don't know. 40 factories is what has been calculated. Now, and if the sound that is produced by those 40 factories could actually be brought out of our body, you could hear that a few miles away, that echo. That much work is happening inside our body quietly. Isn't it an engineering marvel of Brahmaji? Just imagine. And that is happening quietly, that you have no control over whatsoever. Do we have control over that? No. Just happening. Okay. We eat food and everything happens all by itself. You know, our digestive system, the bile juices, and then the rakt, meda, majja, virya, all that stuff is happening one after another. That is the beauty of the creation wonder that we are. Okay, for that matter, all the species. You just pop in a food, forget about it, your body will do the rest. Amazing wonder, right? And bhakti is also called like that only. You do bhakti and then you don't think about other things. All the virtues, noble virtues that we talk about, they start, coming in you. You start attracting those. So the point that we are trying to make here is all this work is happening. Do we have any control over it? Of course, we don't have it. Okay. And that is going to be the topic of discussion later today as well. Now, both these categories of work, they are performed by, let's look at it, this categories of work, right? Some work is happening here. So this work, if you look at it, the mind, body, senses mechanism is carrying it out. Part of it is carried by our body. Part of it is carried by our mind and senses, right? What we choose to hear, when we choose to speak and stuff like that. So it is a combination of our mind, body, and senses mechanism. And all the parts of this mechanisms, what is it made up of? Again, going back to the fundamentals, Panch Tanmatras, Panch Mahabhut. And if you look at Panch Mahabhut, how do they form? From ether comes air, through air comes water, through water comes fire, and through fire comes the soil. The fire, the other way around. The fire comes water, and through water comes the soil. It's a compression, each one of this, right? So soil or the mud is which encapsulates pretty much all the elements. Even in Bible says from dust unto dust. So this whole thing, if you look at the genesis of it, was Prakriti, right? Through Prakriti came Panch Tanmatras. I'll probably show that hierarchy again. So Prakriti is the mother of the mud through which our gross body is made up of. Okay. So this is material energy actually in action. And what is Prakriti made up of? What is the constituent of Prakriti? Prakriti is made up of these three gunas. Goodness, which is Sattva, passion, Rajas, and ignorance, Tamas. These three wrestlers, if you remember that, those three wrestlers are always having a tussle. We'll probably bring them back to the session, those three wrestlers, probably in a couple of next sessions. But these are the three gunas that dictate this Prakriti or our body. Okay. Let's do a quick recap in case you have forgotten. Do you remember which energy Prakriti is? Okay, let's revise that quickly. So here is God, and he has three energies, right? We have spoken about that. Maya, external energy, Jiva Shakti, the Tatastha Shakti, who we are, and the Sarupa Shakti, which is his internal energy. And what we are talking about Prakriti is his Maya, the external energy, which is also called Jada Shakti, insentient Shakti. And this Prakriti has these three modes. Okay, so goodness, passion, and ignorance, tamas. And that is essentially what our body is made up of. Okay. Now, predominantly, depending upon which guna is dominant in you, Who makes it dominant? Is it whimsical? Somebody is endowed with the guna by God's mercy. Yes, everything is God's mercy, but we are the authors of our gunas. Okay, God will simply give you the result. So if you have tendencies or propensity of being lazy, or you have a particular affinity towards intoxicants or smoking or procrastination and stuff like that, that means that is something you have acquired that based on your past sanskars and your free will, of course, in this life. It's a combination of both. If you are very action oriented, let's do it, very action oriented. That is basically passion rajas, where you are always upbeat about doing something. So that means rajas is predominant in you. And then some people have a natural propensity towards doing good deeds, philanthropy, helping people out, having noble thoughts, or enjoying nature and stuff like that, which is called goodness or sattva. Okay. But this is all born out of Prakriti. That is the key concept. And Prakriti is nothing but the material energy of God. Okay. So I hope you are able to connect the dots here. Let's move further. Now, let's look at it. So you see something here? Okay, when I'm putting the ocean here. This is an ocean and the waves in it. Now, let's just say that just as the waves are not separate from the ocean but a part of it, similarly body is part of Mother Nature from which it is created. So it is a part of Mother Nature from which it is created. It is another example of sea and ocean is given like when we talk about Brahma, Jiva and Maya. Again, we are like the waves of that infinite ocean. And when two waves come, they may be coming together for a while, like all the relationships that we enjoy in this world. But after that, both part ways, right? And the wave and ocean is also given for our mind. The thoughts that come into our mind, that there's another analogy given for wave and ocean. The thoughts, they come like waves. Now, which waves will you choose to surf is your prerogative only. You're not obliged to surf each and every wave that is generated in your head. Okay. Now, in this particular context, we are talking about we are part of Mother Nature from which it is created. That is the analogy which is provided in this. So the material energy is the doer. Now, are the waves doing anything by themselves, or is it the ocean's energy which is enabling that current, which in turn is called creating those waves? Think about it. It's the ocean, right? So the matter itself, that it here, material energy is actually the doer of it. Material energy, which is formed with these three gunas, is actually carrying out everything, not us. An important one. But when you say if material, I will get into that concept. The next obvious question that comes to our mind is, if material energy is carrying out everything, then where is this concept of the karma, right? It's like khana khai Ramesh and bimar hoye Ramesh, right? It should not be the case. So we'll get into that concept as well, because when you come across this concept for the first time, it's very confusing. Although it is material energy, but there is still something which is dictating it, okay? So the material energy, which is made up of Triguni Maya, and that Triguni Maya is dictating, that is born out of Prakriti, and that is what our body is made up of as well, mud, end of the day. And that is mud is actually carrying out all the activities, two set of activities, one that happen all by themselves when we are sleeping, and another set when we are awake and we are consciously choosing those activities. However, the transport medium or enabler for that is our gunas. Okay, it's an important concept. Okay, this is a good analogy. Hopefully, it's not going to confuse you further. You see this train? I don't know which train is moving. Maybe the other one. The true train survey, if you're sitting on a train and you look at the other train, you've seen it in Indian stations, it seems like your train has started. A lot of time I've seen people calling out, come, our train has started. Then they realize, okay, it was the other train which has started. They are safe, okay? So this is the law of motion, right? Like in physics, you have studied, when you are stationary, something else moves, it gives you a feeling that you are moving. And same thing happens, right? Like two trains are standing, one on the side of other, second train is moving and it seems like the first one is moving. Similarly, when the immobile soul is not moving, it is stationed near your heart region. Okay, it is stationed near your heart region, not inside your heart. Because if it was inside your heart, then your heart transplant would have carried you in some other cross body. It doesn't happen that way. So the soul is identifying with the mobility of Prakriti. The body around it is moving, right? All the stuff is happening around it. And that is why it perceives itself as a doer of action. It's a pretty profound concept, but that is how it is. Soul is not doing it. It is the inspirer. Okay. And when it is the inspirer, the only time it becomes doer is when it is perfectly surrendered to God. Till that point, it is not the doer. Actually, Prakriti's move, but it is still the inspirer. Now it can get confusing, but I'll give you an analogy, an example, which will make it clear. Now, the moment the soul eliminates the ego, the ahamkar tattva is felt, right? From Prakriti comes ahamkar. So that ego aspect gives us the sense of I. For as long as the soul is thinking that, right, it has that ego, but when you surrender that to the will of God, then it realizes it is a non-doer. So non-doership, or the understanding that, the powerhouse was something completely different from that I, that comes when you are perfectly surrendered. Till that point, you will always have a sense of I. So I is the first thing to come and last thing to leave. Right? And scriptures say that ahamkar is the first thing to come and the last thing to leave. And using this ahamkar, you work on yourself until you remove the ahamkar. It's like that needle concept. When you're stuck with a needle, it's stuck in your flesh. You take another needle, use that needle to take this needle out, and when the other needle is taken out, you throw both the needles. So this I is like that. For as long as we are not perfectly surrendered, we will continue to have the sense of I and sense of doership. That feeling we have to diminish over time by scriptural knowledge, by understanding the higher principle. However, that I will not be eliminated. It will remain there. You will put it in context by reminding yourself, I'm not the doer, it's God's grace. God is a powerhouse. Anything good gets done, gratitude to God. Anything bad gets done, I take the responsibility, but I will remain. And when the I goes away completely, that's when you will understand you were never the doer to begin with. That's a very high level realization. When you're situated in self or you become God realized, that's when that realization comes. Okay. But Prakriti is carrying out the job. If Prakriti is carrying out the job, then where is this concept of karma in that case? Okay, is what we are going to talk about, because it throws more questions than answers, right, at this point. Now, this grip of ego, and it is unforgiving. It does not leave you. And this sense of control because of I, right? You look at it, it looks how much control this feather has over these stumbling blocks. These two things persist with us. Okay, we are not able to do that. So let go is very difficult for us. And second, that getting over this feeling of ego that I am the doer is also very difficult for us. Why is what we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to also talk about the concept that if Prakriti is doing everything, why do we have to bear the fruits of our action? And if that is the case, then why Lord Krishna introducing this concept of Prakriti carrying out everything, although you are thinking yourself as a doer? Anybody wants to take that question before I get further? See, we have spent time on this, so it's very confusing. Now we are getting into doctorate topics. Okay, philosophically. Anybody wants to give it a shot? Why do we have this
Meenaji.
thing if Prakriti is the doer? Yes, Meenaji. You raised hands twice today, so
Radhe Radhe, Meenaji.
Urvi is going to explain, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. So what? Can you please come again with the question, sir?
Okay, so why do we have to bear the fruit of our karmas if Prakriti is the real doer? Prakriti is the doer.
So as far as I know the answer from Bhagavatam, I can tell a little bit. I'll not expand, I promise. So
you'll have to promise first.
Yeah, I promise. I promise.
Okay. No, it's fine.
Yeah, so what is this grip of ego? Okay, that's it. Okay. So if Prakriti is doing everything, why should I be, even for example, I'll go and kill someone, and I'll say, Prakriti has done, I didn't kill, why I should be put up in a jail, right? So yeah, so that's the question. The question here is, so the answer would be, in Bhagavatam, first canto, Sri Krishna says, because everyone knows it is Krishna, even from Swamiji we have heard this. Krishna is the avatari and all the others are avataris, right? So Krishna is the avatari, all the others are avataras, sorry. So he is the head of everything. Just now you were saying Prakriti, right? The eyes and the moon, every
True.
senses
So
is
if God is the
controlled
inspirer
by,
of Prakriti,
yeah,
let me
yeah,
interject you. If
yeah,
he's the
please.
inspirer of Prakriti, why do we have to cop the blame of karma in that case? Okay, he's very clearly saying
Correct, yes.
Prakriti is the doer, is
Yeah,
what my
Prakriti
question
is
is.
the good. Yes. So the free will which is given to us. So it
Mhm.
is that because of that free will which is given to us, which allows us to think that I am the doer. Because we think, because of the false ego, we think we are the body.
Sure.
We are the body. That would be the definitive answer which I
Okay.
think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of the false ego, we think we are the doer, but you are saying we are still not the doer. So if we are still
Yes,
not
we
the
are
doer,
not. Yes, still we are not the doer. Yes, still we are not
okay.
the doer.
If
So
we are not the
why?
doer, why do we have to bear the consequences then, is what my question is. Okay.
Why
I
we
think
they have to bear the consequences? It's because of our desire. It's because of our yes, Prakriti is doing everything. Prakriti belongs to God, so God is only doing it, right? So that is the conclusion. That's what we
God
are
is
all
doing
thinking.
it, then he's having a lot of
Yeah.
fun at our expense. Okay, if that is the case. Okay, let's move on.
Yes, yes. So
Minaji, let's give
please.
opportunity to others and we'll come back to you. Yes, let's hear.
Urvi, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Urvi.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, the Prakriti is doing everything. That means, like, when we see the heart, it's pumping, our bodily, all those metabolism and everything, things just go on. But ultimately, some things we do consciously, and for that, we are driving. Prakriti is doing everything, but we are driving it. Therefore, the whatever we do, we have to bear results for that.
Beautiful. Very nice. So it's like this. Salman Khan ran over a car, right? The cops catch him and the witnesses, they don't turn hostile. When the judges ask him, why did you run over the car? So he claims that, why are you penalizing me for that? The car, you should be, punishing the car, because it was not me. It was the car who ran over. Who was the inspirer behind the car? It's him. And similarly, even though the actions are carried out by Prakriti, the inspirer is the soul, and free will is a symptom of the soul. Until the soul is completely surrendered, it has to carry the baggage of karma along with it. Tulsidas ji said, right? Karat Karawat, he said, ना मैं करी ना करी सकूं साहिब करता मोर करत करावत आप हैं तुलसी तुलसी शोर. Then there is a bhajan, करते हो तुम कन्हैया मेरा नाम हो रहा है. All these are the sentiments expressed by saints who are perfectly surrendered. For ordinary mortals like me, I can't include a lot of people, I can talk only for my behalf, right? We have to the mindset. Yes, Rahul, I think you're going to add that beautiful point now. So let's take that. And Prabhat had raised hand as well. Let's hear from you and then I'll continue. Yes, go ahead.
Also, there is a point in text, if I can quickly read it. Ashutosh ji says, it's like powerhouse and how we utilize the power, because we have the free will to do things, but
Very
power
true.
is coming from the God only.
True. He's the ultimate inspirer. It's like the same concept we have spoken about, that Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hil sakta, right? What it truly means is, and end of the day, the soul of the soul is God as well, right? Now, God will give you energy, but how you utilize it is up to you, and there are consequences. So, God is not going to discriminate between giving energy to somebody who's doing good deeds and not give it his energy to somebody who's doing bad deeds. Free will is very expensive. If you exercise free will, there is a price tag to it. And it's only because of our free will we are in binding karma and repeating in this, doing this 8.4 million tourism. So there are consequences. He will give you energy. Like it's like the raindrop falls everywhere. It's called the Jal Vrishti Nyay. It does not discriminate that, okay, I'm not going to fall here, but I'll fall here. But when it falls on mud, it becomes kichad, right? We see that. When it falls on cacti, it becomes thorny. When it falls on flower, it becomes, a flower can blossom out of it. And when it falls on an oyster in a Swati nakshatra, it can become a pearl. Raindrop was raindrop. Similarly, God's energy is God's energy. In the hands of a criminal, it could rob somebody. In the hands of a saint, it could help somebody, right? Yes, Rahul, you wanted to add something?
Yes, Rahulji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Just wanted to add that Prayojak Karta and Prayojya Karta concept.
Beautiful. Prayojak Karta and Prayojya Karta. Now you can ask that in quiz also, Rahul. Okay. Beautiful point. Yeah, we spoke about the mirror movement and the window movement also, right? And this concept that when we do something bad, we look at the mirror. I did that. People get defensive. No, I didn't do it. This person do it. That's not the way. You take the accountability for that. And when something good gets done through our hands, we owe it back to God. Thank you, God, for inspiring me, for getting it done. So Prayojya Karta and Prayojak Karta, very true. And Kshetra, we're going to talk about that also in subsequent chapters. So yes, that concept of free will is there. And that is why even though the actual thing is executed, see, if let's say our mind has decided something, right? Then that action will translate. Our senses are going to execute that order. And our senses are made up of mud. And mud is made up of Prakriti, and Prakriti is made up of Triguna. So in a way, if you look at it, technically Prakriti is enabling you to carry out that action. But who was the inspirer? The soul. It's like driver driving the car. So Prakriti is doing everything. Without Prakriti, you cannot move your hand, right? Your hand is made up of mud, atoms, recycled atoms, right? For all you know that you might be eating the recycled atoms of your neighbor, because we get back into the mud and everything that we eat is a derivative of mud. So Prakriti is enabling everything. But behind Prakriti, the powerhouse of Prakriti, inspirer of Prakriti is the soul. And the inspirer of soul is the super soul God himself. So that is where the soul has to carry the baggage until it is perfectly surrendered. And that is where, even though Prakriti is executing it, we have to understand it in context that why Lord Krishna is explaining that. And then these gunas, the important thing here to understand is that these gunas keep you in autopilot mode. Autopilot means you have sit in that Tesla car, which is driving all by itself. You don't know what's going to happen. And that is how majority of our lives go. Until we come across a saint or Swamiji's lectures or videos or have that awakening to understand that we can actually take control of that autopilot car whenever we want by exercising our free will in accordance with scriptural injunctions. So your natural tendency might be to gossip or to criticize somebody or to sleep your way to glory. But with the higher faculty of knowledge that you acquire, you can actually transcend that guna and say, this is something I need to transcend, because otherwise I'll be digging a pit for myself further. I'm already having some tamasic guns or rajasic guns. If I continue to write those, I'm going to deepen that pit. But with knowledge, you can actually start filling it up and even transcend gunas, go beyond sattva. Okay, so that ability God has given us very much. Okay, that is where the free will can actually be channelized properly and can be utilized for our betterment, as opposed to continuing to exercise it to do binding karma and deepening our attachment in the world. Okay, couple of other hands. Let's hear.
Nakabugo Irony ji.
Nakabugo ji, yes.
She's asked a question. What's the meaning of Prakriti?
Okay, Prakriti is actually called material nature. I think you joined late, Nakabugo ji, but I can explain that to you. So basically, we will revisit this concept. Okay, the key concept here is that God has three energies. Okay, and so it's like one of the energy is his external energy, which is called Prakriti or Maya. The second energy is borderline Shakti, which is who we are. And third energy is called his Atarangi Shakti, Para Shakti, or Sarupa Shakti, or Yoga Maya Shakti. These are the three energies of God. So Prakriti is born out of Maya, which is the Jada Shakti, which is insentient power of God. By the way, God has infinite powers. But for our understanding, for now, we just need to focus on 3 powers of God, which we broadly need to understand, which is his external power, his borderline power, and his internal power. And Prakriti is his external power, material energy that we see around us. Okay, that was a short answer to your long question.
There is one more question by Manisha Bhatti ji.
Yes.
I guess this is around the mirror window concept, like they haven't mentioned, but I am a bit confused. The good deeds are done by Krishna or Prakriti. And what about the bad deeds people do? Who is the doer in this case? Isn't it was done by Krishna's will or his wish?
So this is the concept to be understood. Very good question. I'm glad you asked. We have spoken about it in depth in previous sessions. So if God was the inspirer, everything on this earth would be perfect. There wouldn't be any crimes. Everything would be perfect, right? So when it's like this, the powerhouse will give the electricity. Now, how you use that electricity is up to you. You could use it to run a fan. You could use it to listen to music, or you could use it to electrocute someone. You cannot blame the powerhouse for the way you use that electricity. So a devotee, a proper sentiment of a devotee is when something good gets done through you, just so that you don't start developing ego, you thank God for that, so that you stay humble. Okay. Also, it is said when you get inspired, it is God choosing to meet himself. And when you get some coincidence, it is God choosing to remain anonymous. So that inspiration, my God might have given you. A devotee always carries that sentiment that, okay, God is he's always perfect. So if something good has gotten done through me, maybe I've been chosen as an instrument. And when something bad gets done, then you don't say, God, you only did it. You take blame on yourself because you have exercised your free will, not in a manner that is in accordance with our scriptural injunctions, or that would have lined up with God's will. Because if God were to desire for us and do it for us, everything would be perfect. So that is a sentiment a devotee carries, so that they can continue to progress and not keep on developing their ego as if they are doing something great. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, and there are 2 more comments, not questions this time. So Champaji says we have free will and we are responsible for our actions. And Sri Ramyaji says, I'm not a doer means I'm not independent. I'm depending on his energy for performing my task.
Very true. This is the right way to understand. Ultimately, we are dependent on God's energy to execute any task. But God energy is not going to discriminate between, I will give you my energy only if you exercise your free will in a good way. No. He says you do it, but there are consequences. That is where law of karma comes in. So there's a beautiful quotation. I mean, I read somewhere. It said that God says that your will is my will. But that does not mean your will was mine. My will was yours. Sorry. Your will is my will, but that does not mean that my will was yours. Did it make sense, or I confused you further? That means whatever you will, I will support it. But that doesn't mean whatever I wanted you to do, you have done that. Okay. That means he's going to give you energy. The consequences in form of law of karma. So that perfect justice system is operating. You figure out how do you want to choose your free will. And as humans, it is obligatory on us to first understand and then do it in the right manner. We cannot say ignorance is bliss in this case. Vedvyas has said in Brahma Sutra, the very first thing, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, that as humans, go and inquire, who are you? Why are you here? And how do you spend your life meaningfully? And then he goes on to say that Ajnanamevasya Mool Karanam, that ignorance is the biggest cause of misery in this world. Ignorance means not knowing what we are supposed to do, or acting in accordance with our scriptures, or aligning to the preachings or teachings of saints. Okay, these are the 2 things he has said that. Okay, let's hear that. Hopefully, we are able to shed some light on this topic.
Yeah, and even Manisha ji said that she got her answer. So,
wonderful.
I mean, I'll take more hands. Oh, I think Prashanta ji had raised hand, but it's down.
Prashanta ji, yes, go ahead.
Arun ji now. And in the meanwhile, I think Ganpriya ji has requested for you to share the slide, just show the slide on 3 energies.
Okay, would you like to see it a bland slide or 3 wrestlers? Okay, if you want to see 3 wrestlers, you have to wait for the next session. But yeah, I'll show you that slide. These are the 3 energies of God. I hope this answers your question that you were looking for. Okay.
Yes, and Arunji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes,
Please
sir.
go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. I just have basic question. So you were telling that free will is a symptom of the soul, right? I just wanted to understand that point better. So for example, so Prakriti is the medium through which we do our things. But you mentioned about free will, right? So the thing is that we have also learned that the buddhi is the one that controls the mind, which controls the senses, right?
Yes.
The part about the buddhi is again material.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the connection between the soul / free will to buddhi? Because
Yes.
that is the one ultimately exercising the whole thing, right?
True. So I think in one of the SMX sessions, Swamiji had said that you need to chastise your buddhi also, because your buddhi could be wrong as well. It is material. Yes, your intellect. See, intellect is like this. You have a vessel and you have a lot of things in that vessel. What you bring to the top and activate is something that intellect relies upon. But there would be times your intellect will also not cooperate. Let's say you hear, Swamiji's teachings or something, and your buddhi says, no, it doesn't make sense, right? What do you do if your intellect doesn't agree? Because you think your intellect is the highest power, because intellect is going to drive your mind and mind is going to drive your senses, and they are all under Triguni Maya. In those cases, you can actually override your intellect also. You can say, no, I'm just going to go on the face value for now and suspend my judgment around it until it makes sense. So you have that ability to override your intellect also, and that is where free will comes in. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So that's where you're connecting it to the soul aspect of it.
Yes. I asked this question very specifically to Swamiji. What is free will? Free will, is it born out of our buddhi, or is it more from a soul? He said, free will is a symptom of the soul. Like consciousness is a symptom of the soul, free will is also a symptom of the soul. And that is what soul exercises, and it can actually transcend its gunas. For example, I'll tell you a very simple example. A robber might be out there, right? He has tamasic mode and he goes on to loot a bank, right? Like they did in Pathan movie or some movie, I think, right? So they go to loot a bank. So they're in tamasic mode, right? Now, let's say at that moment, some knowledge gets activated. Maybe he had attended one of our Zoom sessions or our session, right? He figures out in Garud Puran, if I steal, this is going to happen, right? So then he will say, okay, he's immediately come into Sattva because of knowledge, or even though he was in Tamasic. But then Rajas takes over. It's okay. 50% I'll give it to poor, 50% I'll keep it for myself. Now he's come to Rajas. So he has that free will, all the 3 choices based on the knowledge that he's activating. Or he could say, you know what, I will not do it basically. God will not like, even I would not like anybody to steal from me. So all options are on the table for that person, even though his primary guna might be telling him to do that stealing, go with it. But knowledge can get activated. There was a King Bhoj, Pandit story, beautiful story. He was lying under his bed because he had come there for stealing, but knowledge got activated. Kumbh Nark, which one when you steal. So all those kind of things can happen. The point here is that the free will is given only to humans, and it needs to be exercised to transcend gunas. If you don't transcend our gunas, then it's like an autopilot Tesla car you're driving without caring to take steering in hand ever. Right? Where it will take you, you don't know. In fact, you may end up deepening your gunas, because if you're born with rajas and you want to enjoy life, you will continue to enjoy, get more entrenched in this life, more indulge, and then you have really not exercised your free will and truly served the purpose of your human birth at that point.
Okay. Yeah. The reason I just asked this is because I was just getting confused about the line of difference between free will and buddhi, because you were telling, right, through knowledge, you tell yourself that maybe this is not the right thing, but that part where you tell yourself is what I thought was buddhi. So I was just still confused what the relation to free will was to that. But I see you're saying free will is a little bit higher than that, right?
It is higher. It is a symptom of the soul.
Right.
Because soul is higher than buddhi, right?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, like this topic, I guess there's so many questions and so many discussions,
I
engaging
was
topics.
anticipating it today. I knew that.
There's
By
a
the way, we have a Seva week coming up on March 5th to 11th. So don't forget it in the middle of thick of action that we are having with soul, buddhi and all that stuff. Seva is important too. Okay. That's when our buddhi gets trained. So that week is coming up, and then holy event, do sign up for that as well. And if you can travel, like Shyamji is able to travel, I know that, he's trying his best. Come over for holy as well. Okay. Any other key thing you want to talk? Let's continue. I would like to hear from
before
Champaji, and Prashant is there as well. Okay. We'd love to hear about your girlfriend's story. Okay, a little more today. So let's go ahead.
Before Holi, there is also Holika Dahan. So Holika Dahan at temple is on March 6th. So
Yes.
I've posted the announcement for that as well. And there are a few other announcements. So please have a look at all the announcements as well as the feedback tracker. I will repost the link for the feedback tracker. So please fill that.
Yes, and we're going to have a Pani Puri stall this time and Holika on popular demand as well. Okay, so if you want to taste that, if you missed it out for some reason, you don't want to miss out on the second time. Okay, it's only going to get better and bigger. So
yes,
Monica ji is all smiles with that. So see, I did the
awesome.
marketing. I've started my marketing campaign already for you guys.
Best CMO. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's just a follow-up question. I just wanted to quickly put it across. K. Ganpriya ji asked that does free will depend upon our prarabdha karma? And is the free will equal to all, just like rain? Like rain falls equally on everyone. Does everyone get
No.
an equal kind of
Yeah.
free
So
will?
free will basically, that's a very technical question. Free will is something, see, it's like the sanskar part of it, right? Because it's a symptom of the soul. I don't know where that free will, again, your free will is something when you are using it to transcend your gunas, that means it is something you are doing as part of your kriyaman, right? Kriyaman, what you are choosing to believe. Otherwise, your free will always align with your gunas because your buddhi is predominant there, right? So that is how I understand it, because your buddhi will always justify things that it naturally likes or it has inherited from its sanskars, right? This is how it's meant to be. So I think free will is something you always, it is agnostic, and really if you associate yourself with your buddhi, then you are in the command of or control of your gunas. But if you have exercising it with a higher faculty where your knowledge has become, that enlightenment has happened on some aspects, then you are able to transcend your gunas. But it's a very interesting question, right? Some more dissertation is needed. So I'll ask Swamiji, get it a little deeper into that, because our free will, we don't even, it's always acting in accordance with our buddhi, right? Now what we are saying is go even beyond buddhi. So that means you have to take few things like on the face value, right? Hanumanji actually crossed an ocean carrying a mountain. You have to just believe it until you understand how it happened. When the Guru is saying, God, you take God's name with remembrance and the magic will start to unfold. You just have to take it on face value. Your buddhi may not cooperate in that case. So I think free will goes a little higher, and it is something which is more part of your kriyaman, where at every moment you have a choice based on what you are choosing to invest your time on or your thoughts on, right? That's why it said when you come in contact with Guru, make most of it. Our buddhi is the culprit which is making us repeat in this world. Our buddhi doesn't cooperate, basically. It will always put that but. However, somewhere it will put a question mark, and that question mark becomes the cause of our lack of surrender and our repetition. Kintu, parantu, but. That thing has to be sorted out. But it's a very good question. I think a little more dissertation and a nuanced discussion is needed around that. So I will have this discussion with Swamiji whenever I get a chance. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take up Prashanta ji right now. He has been waiting for quite
Yes,
some time.
Prashanta ji.
So,
Good to see you back. So
Radhe
which
Radhe.
team is getting the most number of points here? I see videos, but I think we need more because we have at least 20-25 people already tagged. So guys, you need to do something for your team by showing up on the camera. Okay, yes, Prashanta ji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe, everyone. I have a question. Yesterday, while I was traveling on my bike, what happened was just coming outside the home, there was rails of ants. Very much so many ants were there. I wanted to save them, but I had to go to my work, right? So I wanted to save them, but despite that, I had to kill some of them. So what kind of thing happened? You know, you mentioned Salman.
That is very rude and criminal of you, I would say. No, I'm just kidding. See, this is in this Bhagavad Gita says in the shloka, we have done that no act in this world is bereft of sin. When you speak, you can't see how many microbes you are killing.
Right.
When you cook, you don't know how many miniature organisms you are killing. When you walk, that is a bike, but even when you're walking, there are so many ants that you kill. So Bhagavad Gita and our scriptures tell us that there is no action in this world which is bereft of sin. Okay. For you to justify, that is why this Dasham Hissa part, 1/10 of your thing is, consider it as a tax of sustaining yourself on this earth. Part with 10% of your wealth. That basically justifies your existence for all the sins that you commit to just sustain yourself. Charity starts even after that. Okay, I'm just giving you a higher definition of charity. So yes, you cannot really insulate yourself from that. It happens, right? And that is where he said you do paropkars to balance out that karma, because our existence itself, our existential existence will make us commit things knowingly, unknowingly. That is how this material world is.
Okay, I have a question. You said choosing the thought as a free will, right? So in that case, I remembered something from Alfred North Whitehead. He said, the purpose of thinking is to let your thoughts die instead of you. And that was quite a statement, right? And I thought, like, you can think multiple things, right? I can even think of killing you right now, but I don't do that right now, right? So what I do is, okay, this kind of thing have consequences. So I have to, if I do this, then I can have this kind of consequence. If I don't do this, if I just sit here and do something else, I have this kind of consequence. So in that particular, I'm just thinking, in that particular deviation, does God come into play, or Prakriti's three gunas come into play, or something? What comes into play in that choosing the thing, right?
See, if you're going by your buddhi, the gunas are coming into play. Some person will have a thought of, I want to help you, and somebody will have a natural thought of, I want to kill you or I want to hurt you. Your gunas are dictating that. Your mindset is dictated by your gunas. That is why we say the kind of things that we think or invest our time in is going to improve the quality of our mind or to dirty it further. And that is why Antakaran Shuddhi is the only agenda of human life. So the dirtier our Antakaran is, the more entrenched it is in three gunas, the more these kind of random thoughts would come in our mind. And mind is the biggest culprit, right? Manev manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Mind is the biggest culprit. You can't trust your mind what kind of thought will come. But whether you want to serve that thought or you want to reject it, that choice is always there with you. It's not that my mind kept thinking for 1 hour and I couldn't do anything about it. No way it can happen. You choose to pursue that thought. You choose to energize that thought. In Power of Thought book, Swamiji has said that thoughts are fine. Let it come. Our mind generates 60,000 or 40,000 thoughts a day. But when you choose to energize it, you are making a karma out of it or a sanskar out of it. So that choice is always with you. And the more you improve the quality of your mind through Roop Dhyan, Seva, Satsang, thinking about God, investing your time wisely, the better the quality of the mind is, the more these weeds and random thoughts will subside. That is the whole process or the purpose of spirituality. Okay, let's take Champaji and Urvi, and then we can come back to you, Prashanta. I know you may have something else to add on as well. Champaji has raised her hand for a while.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Champaji.
Radhe
Thank
Radhe
you for
Champaji.
waiting.
Okay, I'll be very brief. I just want to clarify that whether my understanding about this right or wrong, Ritinji, I understand that all of us have a free will and we are responsible for our own actions. And I think my understanding is this will remain until we surrender our will to the will of God.
Yes.
Once we surrender our will to the will of God, from that moment onwards, God will become the doer of our action. Is it so?
Very true. You are very right. In fact, if you look at Bhagavad Gita also, Arjun was directing Lord Krishna initially, right? Take the chariot there. Okay, this. But after he surrendered, then he was like, Krishna, I give the reins to you. So when you become perfectly surrendered, then God starts acting through you. You are very right. And that is why when saints say that, it makes perfect sense. Tulsidas ji said that, Surdas ji said that, right? Kabir Das ji said that. So when you completely surrender, that means you have given the reins of your chariot to God himself, like Arjun gave to Krishna in Mahabharata.
So Jeev is
God
the
acts
doer
through you.
only. So Jeev is the doer of one's action only till he surrenders.
True, very true.
Right?
Till that point, Jeev is the doer, even though God is the energy provider. Very true.
Thank you very much, Nitinji. Radhe Radhe.
When you surrender in intellect, that means you have perfectly aligned with the will of God. So saints, when they come here, they are being mere instruments of God at that point. God is acting through them. You see, sometimes Swamiji says something and then divinity supports it. So listen to him very carefully. You know, if he's telling you something, if God is acting through them, then whatever words come out of their mouth, divinity has to support it. Whether it happens now or after 3 years or 5 years, it has to happen. Typically, this is how it goes. Yes, Urvi?
Yes, Radhe Radhe Urvi.
Radhe Radhe. I don't know how mostly the topic of my daily sadhana matches with the topic of a class. And
Again, a
I
coincidence. See, I told you that coincidence is God choosing to remain anonymous, right? I've seen sort of people tell me, okay, we heard this in the other session and thank you for bringing it up because it reinforces our understanding. I said, wow, okay, if you have heard it in some other session, that's even better, right? It reinforces the understanding and it happens. I've heard it multiple times. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, actually, I also texted you the same question in the morning. You've not seen it, but it is being discussed in the class as well.
Okay. Oh, you asked me the question. Sorry, I didn't get back to you yet. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, my question is today the lecture I was watching, Swamiji said that actually after God realization, he explains three things: Guru is greater than God, God is greater, both are equal, and then at last he says they are one. And actually, I did not like this concept. What does it mean they are one? Actually, he says like a ghost. When the ghost takes over somebody, it's the ghost that is acting, and the person is only like an instrument. Similarly, God is acting, Guru is only instrument. But I like to see God and Guru separately, and for me, I respect my Guru more than God. So I didn't like it. I want them to be separate.
See, you have to understand, Urvi, this is more of a figure of speech, right? Swamiji himself has said that God is God, Guru is Guru. Okay, God knows everything, but if God wants, he will make Guru know that if he needs to. And at the same time, God takes control of all the karmas. He doesn't give that power to anybody, right? Because it's a bookkeeping job. But in the spirit of the sentiment, from a Jivatma standpoint, your purpose is served by Guru. So Guru will always have a higher stature than God. But technically, if you look at it, if you have aligned your will to God, then absolutely there's no difference between God and you, right? Because you are acting as per God's will always. See, it's like when you are completely Sharanagat to somebody in material life also, you're talking the same language. There's no difference, right? It doesn't work in the material world, right? There's a saying, it says if two people always agree, one of them is not needed. And if two people always disagree, both of them are not needed. Okay. But in case of God, when you have aligned to God's will, that is when you become saint, you become God realized. So technically, whatever God would do in that situation, Guru would do the same. But from a Jivatma standpoint, they cannot see God. They can only work with Guru. So Guru's stature is higher, like Kabir Das ji said, right? Because your purpose will be served through Guru, via Guru. So he'll always be, even when you go to Golok Urvi, you will work under the guidance of your Guru only. Okay, it's not like independently you're roaming around and saying, okay, he will tell you, he'll keep you. So this is how the thing is maintained by God as well.
So it's like the free will remains of a soul even after God realization. Just the free will, the soul aligns to the will of God, and
True.
therefore.
Very true. Very true. God, very true. Now, though, your free will is completely aligned with God's will because you have become Yog Maya Yukt at that point. So Yog Maya will always, and Yog Maya is God's energy. When you get God's energy, you will act like God only, right? At every time. You can do leelas also, contradictory leelas with him, but now you are a done deal. So yes, you still have your identity. You have just inherited God's power at that point.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Is it relieving and does it make you happy now? Nice. Okay, so I think we should, 10 o'clock, we usually wrap up our philosophical discussion because Samji had told us we should not carry it any further. So if you want to stay back for anything, please do, because we get into our devotional segment now. And I've gotten requests from people that we want to sing. One of them is on the screen right now. Any last minute question anybody has, or we move to our devotional segment? So I hope we were able to shed light on this very intricate, interesting topic. It's not easy to understand, I get it, but hopefully over the next couple of sessions, we'll make it very clear, like a lot of other shlokas. And I look forward to seeing you, further in this discussion tomorrow. What kind of guna you have, maybe we should create some app which will tell you what guna is active in you right now so that you can take corrective measures. Who knows, technology may enable it down the line, but we'll talk more about that concept tomorrow. And also something interesting is going to happen tomorrow. I'll not spill the beans on that. Okay, real quick, a question each maybe, and then we get into, or are you going to sing, all three of you?
There is another off the topic question from Vandana ji. Any residential facility available if we come for a holy program from India?
Oh yes, sure. We have a lot of people who would love to host you. So please write in the feedback tracker and we will make sure you have somebody who will take care of you. We will get you accommodation, we'll get you food, and we will get you friends also. So please write it in the feedback tracker and we'd love to have you over. I hope you've taken care of your visa and everything. And once you come to RKT, usually it's very difficult to leave, right? So good luck. And if you have one-way tickets, even better.
Yes. And there's a comment from Shri Ramya ji, missing Payal ji, then Sunita ji singing.
Oh, you're missing singing, but we will have Shyamji who will make up for them, both of them today. Okay, let's hear. Shyamji, you wanted to say something, and Ganpriya ji, let's see that, and we'll come to Prashant. Maybe we'll take one question real quick and then get to our devotional segment. You can prep up if you want to sing. I already have a singer right up in the queue.
Okay, Shyamji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe. First of all, I missed Urvi's presentation last week because I had a class that day.
I'm glad you missed it because it would have put a lot of pressure on you, I'm telling you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so relieved.
Look at Monica ji's face, okay. She's still having a hangover of what Urvi did. No, but it was very nice. I think she has already put that presentation on the portal.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I did not see her comments. Her voiceover was not there. So I did see the slides there.
So watch out for the video. It will come out very shortly.
I know. And second thing, since we have our presentation this weekend and I'm not there as usual, so can we postpone it to next week if you say so, if all others allow us to do that?
How about Tuesday? Will Tuesday work, or you want to move to next Friday?
Saturday is busy for me. I have class every weekend at Delhi.
No, what I'm saying is Wednesday morning. Will that work for you?
Wednesday morning, yes. I guess yes. It's okay for us.
Okay. If it works, Wednesday, fine. Otherwise, we can move to Friday. It's our session only. Don't worry.
Weekends is difficult for him. That's what he's saying. So
okay,
I guess
weekend, that's fine. I get it. So either do it on Wednesday or Friday. Just let me know. Wednesday would be good. You can do it on a Wednesday morning. Then next
Wednesday for us. Tuesday for you.
Yes.
Tuesday for us. Wednesday morning for you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Radhe Radhe.
Perfect. Radhe Radhe. Thank you. Yes, Ganapriya ji, you had a question too.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Ganpriya ji.
Radhe Radhe. Nitin ji, one small last minute question again on free will. Whether like our free will, when we surrender after a little of God realization to the divine will, is it the same as people leave the everything to nature and wait for things to happen without realizing about the divine will or free will?
I didn't completely understand the question. So what did you say basically?
We surrender to God and leave our free will, surrender our free will to God and keep it aligned with the divine will. Is it the same that people don't act or do anything or plan anything and leave everything to Prakriti or nature?
No, it's a very deep concept. Okay, so we will talk about the concept of surrender, what surrender means. Okay, there are 6 principles to surrender. We'll go deep into that topic. When you do that, then you are basically liberated from this cycle of life and death at that point, right?
Yes,
And
that
you become
is
Jivan Mukt. So let's say
surrendering
you
to
are
God.
living on this earth. Even then, while living, you become Jivan Mukt at that point. That doesn't mean people are not doing, they'll still carry out their activities, but they will be perfectly in accordance with God's will. But in order to reach that stage, it's a process, and we'll talk about those 6 concepts. If somebody has done 100% Sharanagati on all of those, then God takes control and you become God realized. Till that point, you cannot. So,
Yes, but
so that
if they are
concept
not,
of surrender, we will get deep into that, and I think that will shed more light. But if you want to have an offline conversation, please put it in the feedback tracker. I'm happy to talk to you on this topic.
okay, okay. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, thank you. Okay, last one, Prashanta, before we move to our singing segment.
Yes, Shantaji.
Okay, a quick question. You said Prakriti means Maya. Does that Maya means illusion for us, or love? That nature has given to utilize. To bhog in life. Let's say a simple question.
Bhog in life? Okay,
Right.
bhog leads to rog. So yoga is the thing that needs to be done. So yeah, so this is created, this whole creation, right? If you look at it, it is created for us to uplift ourselves and basically support the purpose of this creation, not for our enjoyment. This enjoyment, indulgence becomes the cause of bondage in this earth, right? So when it's in giving one shall receive, it is said, right? So when you think of this nature and this creation for your bhog or to exploit or for your own thing, losing the big picture around it, that's when this whole problem starts. And that is why we are getting stuck in this material cycle of life and birth, right? Bhog leads to rog, and when you do bhog for your own pleasure, it has binding karma. If you have done a bhog with good deeds, you go to celestial abodes. If you have done a bhog with bad deeds, you go to hellish abodes. If you have done a bhog with a mix of good and bad deeds, you come to Mrityu Lok. But if you have done a bhog, you don't do a bhog and you do things for the pleasure of God, that's when you become God realized. So that is the whole thing Bhagavad Gita has been reiterating. And this bhog is the problem that we have.
Okay, I got that. Okay, regarding that ego question, one simple question, people are like energy vampires, some people are like, they just suck out your energy, right? So not spending time with them, let's say, they may be friends or family members, so in that case, what happens after that case is that, well, I didn't spend time with them, maybe they thought bad. And sometimes what happens is that, they just start gossiping and I just move out of that place and they say, well, now he has become a big man, let's say something, right? He has become like, a hero. He just leaves us, he doesn't want to participate with us in the conversation. So what the hell is that? I don't want to drain my energy gossiping about girls or something like that. So in that case, what am I doing? Am I being egoistic about that, or am I just doing the right thing?
I don't know. See, this is a very common thing. Basically, we all face it to varying degrees in different parts of our life, right? And that is where Swamiji always tells that buddhi in world and man in God. Buddhi means you got to be tactful around know the stakeholders, who you are dealing with. All of a sudden, you cannot say, I'm going to do Radhe Radhe and hell with you. Okay, you do gossips and I am no longer interested in you. If you're dealing with people who you anyway have to deal with, you can still do your own thing in your head or in your mind and deal with it so that it's not very drastic. Raise the temperature slowly, right? Otherwise, they can create impediments in your spiritual life. And then what will you do? You will waste your energy trying to explain and justify yourself. And then just be smart about it. You know, how much you really have to deal with, how much you can just go and do things in private. That is what we have to do, the calibration based on the situation we are stuck in. Because if we take any drastic step, it can be very counterproductive. See, for me, if people tell me, what kind of person have you become? You do only Radhe Radhe these days. Say, I am comfortable saying, yeah, that's what I do. I've become very boring. If you're not interested, be my guest, okay? But then not always you can exercise that option, especially if you're dealing with your family members and stuff like that. So we got to be a little tactful there so that it doesn't become an impediment to our journey.
Thank
you, Prashanta. Okay, now we get to our singing segment. Sandhya is going to go first, and then Himani, you're going to sing as well? Can't wait. Beautiful. All right, Sandhya, all yours, and then Himani, and then we wrap up our session. It was a lot of thinking today, so hopefully you all relish this session. I did have to do a lot of talking. So yes, Sandhya, go ahead. To Man Man Mani, very nice.
Yeah, I thought I'll present, like try and sing this bhajan today. And again, this also aligns with our topic of discussion, and I'm no more surprised because I know it's all. I kind of have started accepting this, that it's the divinity which inspires
Yes,
all
yes,
of this.
please go ahead. It's a beautiful bhajan. Go
Okay.
ahead.
First, I think I'll just read out its meaning. So this is a beautiful bhajan written by Maharajji. Tu man manmani त्यागरे, हे मन अब तू अपनी मनमानी छोड़ दे, तुझे अज्ञान की नींद में सोते हुए अनंत जन्म हो गए, अब जागकर तुरंत उठ बैठ, पुत्र स्त्री मित्र आदि से ना तो शत्रुता कर, ना तो मित्रता ही कर, श्याम सुंदर के युगल चरणों में निरंतर प्रेम कर, इंद्रियों की विषय वासनाओं को छोड़ दे एवं सरस प्रेम रस में अनुरक्त हो जा। श्री कृपालु जी कहते हैं, किंतु ध्यान रहे कि भुक्ति एवं मुक्ति की कामना ना उत्पन्न होने पाए, अन्यथा प्रेम के उज्जवल वस्त्र पर कलंक लग जाएगा।
Okay, in English, I'll give one line that it is saying, mind and mend your mind, because the mind has a mind of its own. Okay, now you can go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, now I'll start. Okay.
Go ahead.
तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, 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 बीते जन्म अनंत नींद मा, बीते जन्म अनंत नींद मा, अब छटपट उठ जाग रे, मन अब छटपट उठ जाग रे, उठ जाग रे, उठ जाग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, पुत्र कलत्र मित्र आदिक जे, तिन करु द्वेष न राग रे, ना राग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, नंद नंदन पादार विंद ते, नंद नंदन पादार विंद ते, कर ली अब अनुराग रे, मन कर ली अब अनुराग रे, अनुराग रे, अनुराग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, तजी दे इंद्र न विषय वासना, तजी दे इंद्र न विषय वासना, प्रेम सरस रस पागरे, मन प्रेम सरस रस पागरे, रस पागरे, रस पागरे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, जो कृपालु चह भुक्ति मुक्ति तो, जो कृपालु चह भुक्ति मुक्ति तो, लगे प्रेम पट दाग रे, मन लगे प्रेम पट दाग रे, पट दाग रे, पट दाग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे, तू मन मन मानी त्याग रे.
Beautiful bhajan, Sandhya, very nice. And Maharaj Ji is the only Jagat Guru who talks about man buddhi and these aspects in so much of detail, and it's a beautiful bhajan, very nicely sung. And if you're trying to wake up early in the morning, instead of your alarm, put on this song, okay? This might help. Beautiful song, loaded with a lot of tattva gyan and just fantabulous. Loved it. Thank you, Sandhya, so much for that beautiful bhajan. Now let's move on to Himani, our nightingale of our session and our kitty these days. So please go ahead, Himani. All ears.
I ate too much today. I feel like I hope I can.
You can sleepwalk to singing. That much you can do.
Okay, so it's a Naam Sankirtan.
Yes, go ahead.
Hari Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, I am getting breathless with a full belly. I shouldn't have sung it today.
You know what, Himani? Whatever you ate and however much you ate, you can please repeat it every day because you did really well. Okay, as you can see with so many hearts and claps around it, you did well.
Yeah,
Okay,
but I was breathless, so next time I'll sing again.
please do. Always a pleasure hearing you. Okay, loved it, as you can see with so many hearts. So beautiful singings, first by Sandhya and then Himani. Loved it, and it's a good segue to end our session for today. Tomorrow we'll continue on our journey. By the way, if you have not signed up for Swamiji's Angels, please do so. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about that. Yesterday we had a very wonderful session with him. You can check out on the portal. I think Sandhya has posted a link. Very happy faces you can see, and it's going good. But if you can join us, join hands, that would be wonderful. Great. Yes, Himani, you wanted to say something?
No, I think it's a hand raised from earlier.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so Radhe Radhe, have a wonderful day and great rest of your evening ahead, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow with continuation of what we are discussing and something more, right? And we may even see some wrestlers tomorrow as well. We'll see. Or talk about which is our predominant guna. I don't know. We'll do something interesting. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Good night, good day from my side. Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. And please fill out the feedback tracker if not already. So just wanted to remind you that. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Radhe Radhe. See you all
Thank you, Radhe
tomorrow.
Radhe.